So when a team missed the playoffs in 2019 and then decided to trade their best player in Mookie Betts and now have a ton of new guys with a lot of question marks around the depth chart, well, let's talk about how the 2020 Red Sox will perform this season.
Hold up, wait until the whole team show up, yeah. I'm in Neverland, can't grow up, yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So today I wanted to take a deep dive in what to look forward to during the 2020 season with the Boston Red Sox. So before I forget, don't forget, go down and subscribe. I post new videos every single week talking about the biggest sports stories, and I go really in-depthly into each story and try to give my analysis, and then I also ask for your guys' analysis as well. I also do the same exact thing on my Instagram and also my Twitter, and you can find those in the description box below, or there will also be a link right there. So let's start off with taking a look back at 2019. So the Red Sox went 84-78 after winning 119 games and going on to win the World Series in 2018. And looking back at the last season, it was very embarrassing, especially with that team having such high hopes. And there was a lot of question marks going into the offseason, especially with the Red Sox having $236 million in their payroll and being way over the luxury tax level because the level is at 208, and they had to pay $13 million to really offset the luxury tax penalty that they were given. And so they really needed to find a way if they were going to trade guys like Mookie Betts, David Price, Jackie Bradley Jr., maybe Nathan Eovaldi. Just a ton of these names came up at the start of the offseason, and we really saw the offseason be very slow until about January. That's when things really started to heat up, it seems like, and that Chaim Bloom, who was the new baseball operations guy that was hired at the start of the offseason, was really put in charge of trying to figure out all these different question marks that the Red Sox had. And like I said, it seemed like for most of the offseason he was sitting on his hands, and it seemed like a very unorganized and very sort of confusing offseason, especially for Red Sox fans that were very hard set on this being a recharge year and really getting a whole lot of new motivation into the 2020 season. But especially when we saw last week a huge trade and a blockbuster trade of Mookie Betts getting traded over to the LA Dodgers with David Price, and the Red Sox really starting to turn the page on a new chapter into 2020. And then we also saw last week as well, the Red Sox decided to hire a new manager in Ron Roenicke, especially after we saw a huge scandal happen just a month and a half ago when Alex Cora and the Red Sox decided to part ways due to the sign stealing investigation that started against the Red Sox. And it was said that Alex Cora could have potentially have started a whole sign stealing system in Boston after he also made a very similar system over in Houston that helped the Houston Astros win the World Series in 2017. But we still haven't gotten a whole explanation for that investigation that is going on against the Red Sox, and it has even come out that potentially nothing that has really come out is 100% true about the Red Sox stealing signs, and that it isn't as severe as some people are making it out to be. So it'll be very interesting to see, once that investigation is finally completed, how it will actually affect the Red Sox in the coming future. And so to really go on to what I was talking about with the Mookie Betts trade, so the Red Sox were able to receive a very exciting outfielder in Alex Verdugo from the Los Angeles Dodgers in the Mookie Betts trade. And Verdugo was able to hit .294 with 12 home runs in 106 games last season, but he had to stop playing at the end of August due to back issues. And that is one of the things that we are starting to see really bother Verdugo at the start of this spring training, and it has even come out from Ron Roenicke that Verdugo might not even be ready to start opening day. So two other guys that we saw the Red Sox get for Mookie Betts is Jeter Downs and Connor Wong. So when we look at Jeter Downs, he's a very exciting second baseman and shortstop, and it's very interesting to think that a Jeter will be in a Red Sox uniform, but he is still only 21 years old, and in between single A and double A, he was able to crush the baseball. And especially in single A, he hit .269 with 19 home runs in 107 games, and then in double A, he was able to hit 5 home runs in only 12 games. Like, that's nuts. And then when we look at a guy like Connor Wong, he was a 3rd round pick from the Dodgers, and he is still only 23, and he's very versatile, and he plays catcher, third base, and second base. So we could really see him play any of those positions, but as we saw yesterday in his first spring training game, Connor Wong was behind the dish at catcher. But especially for a catcher, he can kill this baseball. And in AA and single A, he was able to hit collectively 24 home runs in 111 games and get 85 RBIs. So we could be seeing him crush this baseball and really sort of replace Christian Vasquez in that catching position. So a very interesting position to really look at is the position of second base. So the Red Sox also signed Jose Pariza at the start of the season, and Pariza is a guy who can play anywhere in the outfield, anywhere in the infield. And so a lot of people saw with his signing, it really showed that since the Red Sox signed a new utility player, that they wouldn't re-sign Brock Holt, who just signed with the Milwaukee Brewers just this past week. And a lot of Red Sox fans were very upset that the Red Sox decided to pay Jose Pariza $3 million, and Brock Holt just got $3 million from the Brewers. And a lot of Red Sox fans are like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, Brock Holt was such a fan favorite, and he would be able to really help out the Red Sox this season. But in my opinion, Pariza was able to hit 288 with 16 home runs when he had over 120 plate appearances. And last season, and especially 2018, Brock Holt was a huge player in helping the Red Sox win the World Series, but in 2019, he had a lot of injury issues, and he wasn't really the same player that we had seen from him over these last 3 seasons, especially on the offensive side of the baseball. And so, especially with Pariza's speed and his versatility around the bases, and also, so Pariza, like I said before, his offensive ability is on the uprise, and when he was able to get a full season, he was able to hit 16 home runs, but last season we saw his sort of stats really kind of dip when he was only able to hit 6 home runs and hit around 250 to 260. And so it'll be also interesting to see if the Red Sox will slot Michael Chavez into that second base position, because we've also been able to see Chavez is able to play first, third, and they also thought about putting him in the outfield. So there's a lot of different people that could really be slotted in a lot of different positions in the depth chart. And so I believe that spring training will really be the determination to really answer all these sort of questions that Red Sox fans have going into this next season. So a position with a lot of different questions, because there's a lot of new guys in this new Red Sox outfield. So the Red Sox still do have Andrew Benintendi in that left field position, Jackie Bradley Jr. in the center field position, but then Alex Verdugo and newly signed Kevin Pillar will platoon in that right field position. And then we could also see Kevin Pillar slotted into that center field position, because Kevin Pillar and Jackie Bradley, in my opinion, are the 1 and 2 best defensive outfielders in the MLB. And Kevin Pillar really has some great offensive ability, and especially, like I said before, Verdugo is a little bit injured with his back and might not be ready for opening day. So we could see Pillar really sort of fill his playing time that Verdugo isn't able to make up because of his injury. And so it has also come out that the Red Sox are looking very closely at a guy like Will Myers. And it has also come out as well that guys like Jackie Bradley Jr. could be sent over to the San Diego Padres for a guy like Will Myers. And Will Myers can play outfield, first base, and third base, so he has a lot of different versatility. But the reason the Padres do want to trade Will Myers is because he still has $61 million on his contract over these next 3 seasons. But it has come out that the Red Sox would only pay $10 million of the $20 million he is owed throughout these next 3 seasons. And so it could really be a great bargain for the Red Sox, especially with Jackie Bradley making $11 million. But obviously Myers doesn't have that same defensive ability that JBJ does have. But in my opinion, I think Myers is a way better bat than JBJ is. We've been able to see Jackie Bradley Jr. really struggle in his average ability, from JBJ's average going from 200 to like 220 throughout these last 3 seasons. But Myers is really able to hit very well, especially at Fenway Park. And he hit 239 with 18 home runs last season, and we were able to see him hit over 25 home runs back in 2016 and 2017. So especially with the hitter-friendly ballpark that Fenway Park is, it'll be really interesting to see if the Red Sox do trade for Will Myers, if he is able to flourish and really be able to get that firepower and big bat that he was able to have early in his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. But it was also said that the Red Sox would try to get a very young pitcher and a few different prospects from that Will Myers trade in guys like Cal Quantrill and also Luis Capuano or Gabriel Arias. And so Quantrill would be really interesting for that 5th spot that I will be talking about a little bit later on in that video. But the Red Sox do need a 5th starter in their rotation, and Cal Quantrill is only still 25 years old. And he was able to go 6-8 with a 5.16 ERA. But especially with Chaim Bloom being a pitching genius, with him being able to get guys like James Shields, Chris Archer, Blake Snell, you know, the list goes on, what he was able to do over in Tampa Bay with his evaluation of pitchers. And so I quite honestly trust him very well with being able to evaluate very young quality pitchers. And so it would be interesting if the Red Sox did actually make this Will Myers trade and how it would really be able to help them be better this next season. And then so now looking at the bullpen, I really think that the Red Sox, even though they didn't really do anything to help the bullpen, I think a guy like Austin Brice, who was the one addition that the Red Sox made to their bullpen, will be a huge contributor for the Red Sox, because their bullpen has been a position that has been completely ignored over these last few seasons, especially when Dave Dombrowski just decided to say, you know what, we're not going to have a closer. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to assess each situation and try and put a pitcher in and pray and hope that it works out. But Chaim Bloom and Ron Renicky took a whole nother approach when they decided to name Brendan Workman as the primary closer, which I was a huge fan of, because Workman had a 1.88 ERA over 71 innings last season. And so I have a ton of confidence that Workman is going to be able to strike out and really put the hammer down on these teams during that bottom of the ninth. And I think that the Red Sox bullpen will really be able to flourish, but I do really wish that they were able to pick up 1 or 2 more guys like Aroldis Vizcaíno or also Ryan Butker. But, you know, the Red Sox don't have a ton of payroll room, with their payroll being at $194 million. So it'll be really interesting to see how their bullpen does pan out. So my predictions for this 2020 Red Sox, especially for guys that could be big performers, are going to be Rafael Devers, Andrew Benintendi, Nathan Eovaldi, and Jose Pariza. So really looking at how Andrew Benintendi has been able to play since he was drafted 6th just 5 to 6 years ago, Andrew Benintendi hasn't been able to develop into the huge power hitting hitter that he was supposed to be, and we really haven't seen him been able to get any sort of better throughout these past 2 to 3 seasons that he has been in the MLB. Especially last season, he was very flat. He was only able to hit .266 with 13 home runs, and there was a ton of potential for him to be able to flourish last season. And I really think that we could see him potentially hit 30 home runs this next season. That's what I'm really hoping for, because that's what we were supposed to see, especially with the potential that he was supposed to have when he got called up into the MLB. And so another guy in Rafael Devers, I think that this is when he really flourishes. Last season we were able to see him hit the cover off the baseball and really get comfortable in the MLB. He was able to hit .311 with 31 home runs and 115 RBIs. And so I could really see him being able to hit 35 home runs this next season and really be able to continue to not only develop his bat, but especially on the defensive side of the baseball. And then going on to a guy like Nathan Eovaldi, who signed that huge contract in the offseason and is making $17 million, and has a lot of fans really sort of confused if that contract was a great idea or not, because he was out for most of the season last year, and he has a lot of different injury concerns, especially since he has had 2 Tommy John surgeries in the past. But he was 2-1 last season, and he only started 12 games, but he had a 5.99 ERA. And I could really see him having a huge bounce back season for the Red Sox and really being able to live up to that contract that he was given just last season. And so one last guy that I could see really being able to develop into a very good asset for the Red Sox is a guy like Jose Pariza, who, like I said, in 2018, when he was able to hit more than 120 plate appearances, Jose Pariza hit .288 with 14 home runs. And I could really see him being a great primary second baseman if Michael Chavez doesn't pan out at that second base position, or if the Red Sox decide to put Chavez at either first, third base, or like I said before, they could put him in the outfield as well. And so really looking at how the Red Sox will be able to pan out in the AL East, especially with the Rays really bolstering up their roster with a lot of new young talent. And then what we saw the Yankees do, they signed that ginormous contract with Garrett Cole. And so we could really see the Yankees being the number 1 spot, the Rays being number 2 spot. But I really see this, a lot of people are talking about this being a bridge year for the Red Sox. I could really see the Red Sox surprising a lot of people and winning 85 games this next season. I don't see them being a primary playoff contender, but I could see them at least surprising a lot of people and potentially getting 85 to 90 wins, because a lot of people are putting them at 80 to 82 wins, and really talking about this being a bridge year and a year that the Red Sox really try to develop and figure out where everybody's going to fit on this roster. But I'm very confident that, especially throughout this spring training, that Chaim Bloom and the coaching staff is going to be able to figure out where everybody fits in. And at least as a Red Sox fan, I'm confident with the amount of versatility and the amount of young talent that we do have on this team, that this team is going to be able to contend very well for these next 2 to 3, maybe even 5 seasons. But with what Chaim Bloom has been able to do with this farm system, he's been able to really bolster it, in my opinion, to be a top 20 to top 15 farm system in the MLB. And we have really been able to see Chaim Bloom be able to make those smart moves to be able to give the Red Sox that payroll flexibility, especially for 2021. So as a Red Sox fan that is usually very critical about the team, I'm very confident with the Red Sox going into the 2020 season. So I'm very curious to see what you guys think, what the Red Sox will be able to do during this next season, and who you really think will be able to be a huge performer and really be able to have a comeback season for the Red Sox. So comment down below what you think the Red Sox So comment down below how many wins you think the Red Sox will be able to have this next season, and who you are going to predict will be the biggest performer for the Red Sox this next season. I'd be really curious to see what each of you think. And so I'd really appreciate it if everybody would go down and subscribe for me. I post new videos every single week, and especially now that baseball season is going to be starting, I'm going to be breaking out a ton of new content of really deep analysis about each different team and really each different player and news topic that is going to be coming out, because I'm a huge Red Sox fan, but also a ginormous baseball fan. I really like just analyzing different topics, especially sort of how each team or each player is really panning out throughout this next season. And so I'd also really appreciate it if you guys could check out my Instagram and also my Twitter, and both of those would be in the description box below, because I mostly post a ton of stuff on there, and I post every single day over on each of those platforms. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, give me a big thumbs up if you guys did really like this video, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye.
The bent, that's big views. Boarded the plane, won't be back to May. Now I can't camp it with you.